Okay, well, it's a bit of a shame. Unfortunately, we had a mix-up between the instructor for Unit 2, my colleague Don, and myself. Don accidentally started broadcasting on the Unit 1 office hour, and unfortunately, there's no way to recover an event that has already concluded and start streaming again. So that office hour concluded, and I was going to try and direct people to this one. I don't know. Well, there was no way for me to do that, but on the Jupyter Hub, I've updated the link of the office hour to point to this event. Hopefully, those of you who were tuned into the office hour previously have gone to Jupyter Hub and are finding the updated link. So hopefully people find their way here, but if not, I'll just be looking at questions on the yeah, so okay, this is good. There was a mix-up between the instructor for Unit 2 and myself. He accidentally started broadcasting on the Unit 1 office hour. Unfortunately, there was no way to restart the stream from my own broadcasts. You can connect to the new Unit 1 office hour 13 stream here. Okay, so I see there's a few more people watching the stream now, so hopefully people are finding their way over. Yeah, again, apologies for the mix-up. Simple mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and open up some of these questions. I see there have been a lot of questions since Friday when I last visited the discussion board. Some of them very descriptive, some of them not so descriptive in the titles. And I certainly won't get through all of them, but I'll make my best effort. And for any of you who might have questions to share with me in the live chat, please do so. I'll be watching that chat. So there's a question about type error from point class. Please give your questions a descriptive title. I've edited it for you. And refer to how to ask a question. For guidance on asking good questions. This error message, unsupported operand type for plus, point, and point, indicates that you have not defined how plus should be interpreted between point objects. The plus operator would be defined by your point class's add method. If you're working on question 5, then you should have already developed an adequate add method in question. Excuse me. I believe it's question 2. Make sure that you have evaluated a class definition for point that includes all of the mathematical methods you defined in previous questions. Will there be other mini projects except those written in the info section? Nope. All the mini projects are the ones documented on the Jupyter Hub. We will not be adding any more. The DW mini project will be the last one that's assigned. I will probably assign that starting this week, or I'll make like a video introducing it. But certain elements of that mini project won't be covered until next week's lectures. So this week and next week, we'll be teaching a lot of the material relevant to the DW mini project. Most students, I would say, find this already to be more than adequate in terms of an amount of a volume of assignments to complete in 8 weeks. I'd like to know how the move method moves a point from one place to another. I'm not familiar with this move method. What object does this move method belong to? I've never heard of it before. PyPlot. I can't find anything in PyPlot called move. Well, if it's defined in a point object, then you must have defined the move method. There is no move method. Well, first of all, the point class is something that we define in the VC mini project, right? So there is no built-in point class. And so if your point class has a move method, then it's because you defined it, and then it does whatever you say it does. But there, yeah, we don't give you instructions to implement a move method. What function moves a point in the point class? Again, the point class is something that you define. If you want a function or a method in the point class that moves a point, then you will have to define it. We don't guide you through that because it's not necessary for the functionality that we desire in the mini project. So if that's a method that you want, if you want a move method, you will have to define it. Maybe it would be helpful to bring up the mini project. So, you know, you have a point class where you've defined a bunch of methods, including, you know, multiplication and addition, and subtraction. And if you want something like move, I don't know, maybe you want like X, Y here to say where you want to move this point to. You'll have to define this method yourself. We don't instruct you to define such a thing. And there is no like point class other than what you define. This is where we create the point class. So yeah, it's up to you. It's totally up to you. Yeah, it's a user-defined class. That's what happens in all the questions before question 5, right? Questions 1 through 4 are all about defining the point class. And then in question 5, we say, okay, we're going to take this point class that we defined and do something interesting with it. Wanted to ask about hashing. How may we implement hashing to find something? This is something that's already built in to Python data structures that use hashing. We don't have to do this explicitly. So for example, when I create a set, Python is doing hashing. It's calculating the hashes and allocating memory for all these items in the set automatically in the background. I don't have to do anything explicitly. There is a hash function, but I don't need to use it to do anything to create data structures. And then if I want to check if something is in that set, again, Python will automatically hash whatever I'm looking for and use that to look at the appropriate location in memory where it would be if it's contained in this object, in this set. So all of that is automatically done for you. You don't need to implement anything related to hashing. This week's lectures will be uploaded when I record them, probably later today, but I don't know exactly when. I will repeat for the 4th week in a row. Please have patience. I will have them up as soon as I can. But I teach other courses and also have a lot of other work to do that isn't teaching besides. If you haven't guessed, I manage a lot of the technical elements of how this course gets run, including like setting up the message board and the Jupyter Hub and all of that. So I have a lot on my plate. I'll get the lectures uploaded as soon as I can, every week. Usually it will probably be sometime on Monday. Sometimes it will be early, sometimes it will be later. So this is the correct answer to this question. There are multiple times throughout the mini projects where you're asked to pass a function to the grader with no arguments, not even as a function call, just to pass the name of the function. And in those cases, such as the second question of the IN mini project, the grader itself calls the function and supplies the relevant arguments. So the grader has a list of points that it will pass to your compute result function. Well, they'll figure it out. I tried 0.23 distance, 0.43 and calculating a distance and it worked. Is there a built-in distance method in Python? No. There's not a built-in distance method. Distance in general depends on what kind of space you're in. And also only would be well-defined for very specific types of objects. Python doesn't have a built-in, Python doesn't have a built-in class like point or vector or anything like that. So there aren't really built-in objects in Python for which distance would be relevant. Yes, you define the distance method as part of the point class. So you asked if the point class needs to be embedded inside the cluster class, and the answer is no. So they define two related but totally distinct objects. They are related because a cluster has a points attribute, which is a list that may contain point objects. However, a cluster does not need to contain point objects. Nor know anything about points. In order to be defined. As well as a center attribute, which will generally be a point object. This is a small analogy which may help, is that, for example, my smoke, or the smoke alarm in my apartment does not need to contain any design based on how batteries work in order to function. The smoke alarm uses batteries, but its design does not depend on the chemical reactions that make the battery work. In a similar way, our cluster will use points, but it does not need to contain the details of how points work. The point class is where that functionality is defined. I'm skipping these DW questions for now, sort of like I skipped some PW questions in the past, because I'm just sort of deprioritizing them until I actually do the lectures that are relevant to the mini project. And also because people who are working on DW are a bit ahead right now and have more time to figure things out on their own. So I want to prioritize people working on the other mini projects at the moment. In your list comprehension, you have total items by BNF post list val k parens. Anything ending in this is interpreted as a function call. This is a dictionary, not a function. And it contains lists. Containing lists for values. Therefore, this returns a list, not a function. Since a list it cannot be called like a function can, you get this error message. Simply removing the parentheses will probably fix your problem. The parentheses after a name always signal a function call. If you're not trying to call a function, you shouldn't have parentheses after a name. I wonder if there's a way, there must be a way to make comments longer or allow longer comments. Maximum comment length, great. We'll bump this up nice and high. We'll put it at 1,000 for now. And we'll try that. Yeah, you can also use subsequent, like multiple blocks of comments. I've done that in the past. It's a little bit frustrating in my own experience, at least. So hopefully by increasing the allowable length of comments, that will be less necessary. I've always felt like the comment blocks were a little bit short. Yep. So this was a question about an error coming from the grader for the VC question 5. They were returning a list of 2-point objects, and it says here, it illustrates that we should be returning a list of tuples, and it even says in the instructions here. Always good to read the instructions. Okay, someone not getting the score they'd like on the first PW. I'm not sure that this rounding works correctly for what they're trying to do. That would be my guess. I would generate some simple test data. E.g., a list of 10 and a list of 11 numbers, or perhaps more, and check that you get the correct results for Q25 and Q75. Yeah, I'm just not sure those are going to give the right answer. All right, let's try running this ourselves. Someone has started the DW Mini project and is having trouble reading in the data. And they're getting a mysterious error message that I have never seen before. So I'm just going to try running their code and see what happens. There we go. It works. Okay. I'm not sure why that's not working for them. When I run your code in my notebook, it works fine. You may want to try deleting the file from your Jupyter Hub directory structure and re-downloading it using the wget cell at the start of the DW mini project notebook. I'm also just going to try going to their server and seeing if I can run this cell. Okay, so their server's started up now. In my notebook. Yeah, it worked in my notebook as well. That's correct. The inner product returns a number, not a point. I just answered this, didn't I? This appears to be a duplicate of this question. Note that you both appear to have extremely similar code. Only difference being that one of you calls this please make sure that you are developing your own solutions and not simply copying and pasting the code of others. I do not know where this code originates from. Possibly it is your own work. But copying and pasting code others have written cheats yourself out of learning how to actually write the Python code and develop your own solutions to problems. Yeah. That's a little bit worrying / upsetting. Why do we not see you? Well, at the moment, as luck would have it, I'm sitting in a very dark room. So at the moment, yeah, I'm in the dark, so you wouldn't be able to see me anyway. That's unusual. I'm not usually sitting in the dark, but my webcam is very blurry and foggy, and the picture does not look very good. So I usually have my webcam turned off. All right, let's try running this fellow's code that they said does not work for them. Wow, it is. My computer is suddenly very unhappy. Oh, wow, this notebook is huge. Why is it so big? Jeez Louise. Oh, this has to go. Let's clear this output. Okay, let's just try it. Okay, indeed, it does not appear to work. Not a gzipped file. All right, if we delete this and download it again, does it work now? Yes. Okay. Which means I suspected that your practices file somehow was corrupted. I logged into your server and deleted the file. I then re-downloaded it. This appears to have fixed the issue. Okay. You can switch the light on. I would. I tried. I am currently in a little call booth in the office space that we share with many other companies. I usually don't broadcast from within the call booth, but I am today because that's the only space available. And the light does not work in this call booth. It appears to be broken, but it's what's available. So here I am. So unfortunately, I cannot see, or I cannot turn on the light. Maybe in the future. I'm going to run a little bit, I'm going to run like an extra 10 to 15 minutes with this office hour because since we had the mix up at the start of it was delayed a bit. And I don't want to take that time away from you all. So I'm just going to keep going for another 10 to 15 minutes. Looks like a lot of the questions over the weekend have gotten some excellent answers from your fellow students. For I and B list, bool list equals false. Number times P. It could be equal to bool list. Yep, very good answer here already. Who is the proxy prof? Okay, that was the instructor for Unit 2, my colleague Don. Yeah, Don and I worked together to create, I mean, mostly Don wrote Unit 2 and under my supervision. We worked together a lot. Don is very bright, very well spoken, a great instructor. I think one of our best. Okay, sounds like that question got answered. That question doesn't have enough information. Try to eliminate second and further post code with this group by. Practices.group by. It sounds like someone, oh, a list object has no attribute group by. Yeah. So to expand upon this answer, in the PW mini project, we are working only with built-in Python data structures, such as lists and dictionaries. So we mostly use lists and dictionaries throughout that mini project. And while Pandas data structures have group by methods, lists and dictionaries do not. This is a big part of the exercise of the PW mini project, to learn how to effectively use built-in Python data structures to perform complex data wrangling and analysis tasks. The code you've written looks like what we might do using a Pandas data frame to accomplish the task. We must do something similar, but only using lists and dictionaries. The instructions of the mini project guide you through how you might accomplish things like a group by using these simple tools. The suggestion of the instructions is to notice that we could build up groups of practice postal codes by creating a dictionary keyed by practice codes with values that represent the group, e.g. using a list of the postal codes associated with that practice code. once we have this dictionary representing the grouped postal codes for each practice code, we can aggregate the groups by applying a function to each group, i.e., we could iterate over the dictionary, and for each value list of postal codes, we could perform a min. This is the approach we encourage in question 2 or 3. I don't remember exactly which. Thank you very much. I appreciate your praise. Don's very talented, though. He and I have taught a lot of the same classes, and his students are always very happy with him as an instructor. So should you go on to Unit 2, I'm sure you'll be very pleased with his talents. Someone is having difficulty with the instructions for one of the questions on DW. Another way, prescribed less than 50 times. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at the example solution to check whether or not we really did less than 50 or less than and equal to. Okay, that is true. So what I'll do here is make some changes real fast in my notes for future iterations of this project. Percent growth is simply the ratio of change from 2016 to 2017, not actual percent growth. Just going through your points and checking, one, this is true. Unfortunately, This is just an oversight in our wording of the instructions. It should be less than or equal to 50. Or in other words, only keep drugs prescribed more than 50 times. Two, I'm not sure what you are discriminating between. Percent growth is defined as current minus previous divided by previous. Maybe with a times 100 if you really if you think of percentages as being from 0 to 100 rather than from 0 to 1. And maybe that's the difference they mean. And maybe I'm just the fool for not thinking of percentages from 0 to 100. Total growth requires you counting all prescriptions from 2016 and 2017, not just filtering out drugs not appearing in either one of the years. Okay, do we do that? Not just filtered out ones with a drug not appearing in either one of the years should not be considered as 0 prescriptions. I'm not totally clear on what you mean here. The percent change in overall rate of prescribing drugs would be the number of prescriptions issued currently, minus the number of prescriptions issued previously divided by the number of prescriptions issued previously. It does not matter which drugs were involved, because here we're only interested in the overall change in the rate at which prescriptions are issued. For C3. The main issue that I see with your code is that drugs rate count drugs 16 equals drugs. That you're performing your calculations using the number of items prescribed, while the question is about the rate of prescriptions, not the number of items contained within a particular prescription. Therefore, instead of summing the total items for each BNF name, we want a count of the number of prescriptions of that BNF name. Okay, so that's going to be the last answer for today, or the last question for today. I am healthy. There was a student last cohort who thought that I was sick the entire time. I am healthy. But thank you for the well wishes. Anyway, that's going to be the end of today's office hour. I'll be back tomorrow for more, and later today I will have some lecture videos for you. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.